Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on Twitch, on Instagram, on X, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. I'm Bryson Carver, and it's kind of fitting, I must say, based on the kind of show we're gonna be doing today. It's kind of fitting that there were technical problems early, and then we're starting 5-6 minutes behind when we were supposed to. Again, some technical stuff. Apologize for that. But We've certainly got a loaded show on tap for you guys tonight. Stay tuned. We got Lane Kiffin stuff in a half hour. Why I will certainly not defend Lane Kiffin, get into some of that stuff in a half hour, but I will also be much harder on the NCAA than I've been on Kiffin. Discuss that. Talk about the Bears' Black Friday win over the Eagles. Why I think Chicago, it's fair to say now, they are a legitimate contender in the NFC. Not only that, but Philly's in trouble, like in big trouble, a potential collapse. They could miss the playoffs when it's all said and done. I'll discuss that. Also get into why I'm still not really buying the Denver Broncos. A response, this is not a segment I thought or hoped that I'd be doing, but a response to Vanderbilt fans. They've just been coming after my head, but you know what? Fair's fair. I did come after their football program pretty harshly on Friday's show. So a response to all the very passionate Vanderbilt fans out there. Hopefully they're watching and listening to discuss that. Predictions for Patriots versus Giants. Recap of the rest of Week 13 around the National Football League. It's going to be a heated show. So let me take a drink of water real quick because there's a lot to get into. Let's get right into it. But first, so I got to admit, and with the addition of the 5-minute delay on starting the show live in the first place, I'm just keeping it back. I'm pissed off in a major way. All right, I just left Florida, and I love Tennessee, but man, Florida's special. Florida's on a different level. We know this. Just went through a weekend where Steph Curry got hurt last week. Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt. All right, the show started 5 minutes late, and the cherry on top, the Steelers got run all over by the Buffalo Bills in their 26-7 defeat. It got so bad that the fans began to chant, "Fire Tomlin! Fire Tomlin!" Oh, yeah. Yep, that was from Acrisure Stadium. By the way, the Steelers gave up the most rushing yards they ever have in the history of Acrisure Stadium / Heinz Field. Can we please get it back to Heinz Field? Let's get the ketchup bottles back in the stadium, for crying out loud. Different story for another year. But Buffalo Bills ran all over Pittsburgh. In many ways, they kept running the exact same play to James Cook over and over and over. Josh Allen, to his credit, became the all-time quarterback all-time leader in rush touchdowns, 76, which passed Cam Newton's 75. So Buffalo showed up, but it's not like Buffalo had to be overly creative. It's not like Joe Brady had to be Bill Walsh on Sunday. It was just, hey, the Steelers can't stop the run. They're getting bullied by let me check my notes here, backup tackles. No Deion Dawkins, right, in this game. Multiple other offensive linemen out for Buffalo. We're just going to push TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Herbig and Highsmith. We're going to push those guys all over the field. And who does that fall on in large part? Certainly that's absolute blame from the players, because the effort wasn't there, the intensity wasn't there, but to a major degree, a lot of that comes back to coaching. And when you are a Mike Tomlin, and your calling card is two things, it's defense, it's motivation. Well, the defense has been the highest paid in the whole NFL for the last 5 years. Can we see the last 5 years of the Steelers have ranked? They're not very good. Since 2021, 24th, 13th, 21st, 12th. This year, they are the 28th ranked defense in the National Football League, despite being the highest paid. And certainly, again, not to absolve blame from players. TJ Watt, MIA. Where was he yesterday? They couldn't find the whole game. Now, some of that was Buffalo ran the ball so effectively, they neutralized TJ Watt. Couldn't see him. Couldn't find him anywhere. He's been very quiet all season long in general. Maybe it was a mistake to give him that contract. Who knows? But if your MO is defense, that's not worked. And if your even bigger MO is motivation, I get my guys ready to play. The standard is, ladies and gentlemen, how many times we had to hear this? The standard is the standard. In Pittsburgh, it's just on a different level. We have our guys ready to play. Is that why, do we have the numbers here? Is that why in the last 5 playoff games, the Steelers have started this way? Down 21-0 to Jacksonville, 28-0 to the Browns, 35-7 to the Chiefs, 21-0 to the Bills, 21-0 to the Ravens. Is that why? Is that the kind of standard that you've been setting? Is that why in December, the last few years, you have a losing record? Is that why the only thing you have to hang your hat on at this point, Mike Tomlin, is that, well, he does have a losing season through 17 years. I mean, my gosh, put him in Canton, Ohio. I got to hear Rex Ryan go on ESPN today and say, man, they'd be doing him a favor by firing because someone hired him tomorrow. By the way, I'm sure they would. A New York Giants, a Miami Dolphins position, they could really use a Mike Tomlin. Stabilize the culture. Mike Tomlin is very similar to the coach that he went up against yesterday, Sean McDermott. He'll come in to a dysfunctional franchise. He'll stabilize the culture, and you will never win big with him in 2025 or 2026. You're just not. Not in the modern NFL. Not when you're hiring Arthur Smith to be your OC. Not when you're hiring Terrell Austin to be your DC. You can't put together a staff. You are a no-show without Big Ben since he retired, or really since he exited his prime circa 2019, 2020. 9 straight years, no playoff wins. Can we show the number of teams that have won a playoff game more recently than the Pittsburgh Steelers? Oh, it's almost the entire league. Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Patriots, Rams, Bills, Bucks, Bengals, Jaguars, Saints, Texans, Packers, Ravens, Titans, Commanders, Cowboys, Falcons, Vikings, Lions, Browns, who beat you guys, Giants, Chargers, Colts, Seattle, Seahawks. All of those teams more in playoff game more recently than you have. But don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it for what I've been saying for, I don't know, years. That Mike Tomlin's not the guy to lead this team to the next level? Take it from a guy who used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. One could argue, I certainly would make the case, all due respect to Santonio Holmes, should be a Super Bowl MVP in Steelers history. The great James Harrison, who once had a 14-point play in a Super Bowl. Remember against the Cardinals? Cardinals about to score. Harrison picks off the pass. Well, there's 7 points the Cardinals didn't get. Then he returns 100 yards. There's 7 points the Steelers do get. 14-point play. This was James Harrison on his podcast with Joe Hayden talking about Mike Tomlin. And again, he played for the guy. See what he had to say.
And as much as I hate to say this, I have never been a person that thought Coach Tomlin was a great coach. A good coach gets you to play to your potential. And right now, the players we have on that team, I have seen play. I know they can do it. Mm-hmm. I have seen them do it, and they're not playing up to their potential. And a great coach gets you to play beyond your potential. Mm-hmm. And I know the Steelers historically don't move on from coaches. But I think it's time that history be made.
You think his opinion holds weight? Not only is he a former player for the Steelers, he's a former defensive player for the Steelers who won a Super Bowl and went to another with the Steelers with Mike Tomlin as a head coach. We've had Troy Polamalu call out Mike Tomlin say, hey, what is the standard anymore? Big Ben has made similar comments. Former players have said, yeah, this isn't, let's not fool ourselves. This isn't working the way it used to in Pittsburgh. Times have changed. It's an offensive league now. I'm going to talk about the Chicago Bears in about 15 minutes. They were a defensive culture. Defense wins championships. Then they hire Ben Johnson. They're the 1 seed in the NFC. What a shocker. They go out and invest in a generationally talented quarterback in Caleb Williams, who's, again, not been terribly accurate. Other than that, he's been great. And then Ben Johnson, generationally talented young OC, hire him. Look at that. So that's the first part of it. So Mike Tomlin, we know, is behind the times. Mike Tomlin, I've said this on my show for years. I mean, think about it this way. The Buffalo Bills were the third worst rush defense in all of football. This season, they've given up, I think it was 6 30-yard rushing touchdowns, which was tied for some of the 1950s NFL teams. I think there was a New York Yankees team on that stat. Buffalo Bills rush defense, atrocious. Pittsburgh at 55 yards rushing, non-existent. Got pushed around at the line of scrimmage by backup linemen for Buffalo. And listen, the Bills run the football. That's one of their strengths. James Cook is a great player. Josh Allen, we know who he is, certainly with his legs. But that highest paid defense in the league that you're supposed to motivate, that you're supposed to get out there and get ready every single Sunday, no show. So, of course, Mike Tomlin's a bad coach. It's 2025. He hasn't won a playoff game since the Obama administration. We've had multiple other teams, some of the worst teams, worst organizations in all football that have won more recently than you. The Browns have won a playoff game more recently than you have, and they beat you to do it. What does that say about you? The standard is the standard. What is the standard other than going 9-8, 10-7 every year and disappearing in the playoffs? Getting the doors blown off you in the first round. So that's the Mike Tomlin component of it. And I must admit, I was initially not going to talk about this second individual. Because, as you all know, going back to the offseason, when the rumors began to circulate, I remember being in Disney World in March, when the rumor mill started to begin. Oh, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, it could be a thing. And I came on my show, I'm like, no. You are not getting an upgrade from Russell Wilson. You're getting Russell Wilson production with Jay Cutler leadership. But, of course, Mike Tomlin, being the stubborn-headed individual that he is, says, hey, come on in, Aaron. And I remember saying on the show, you know what? Aaron will have his moments. He might get a revenge game against the Jets, which he did. He might, he's still, listen, Aaron might be 41 years old, 4 years removed from being an effective NFL player. It still looks beautiful when he releases that football. As a matter of fact, again, yesterday, I wasn't even going to be that hard, on Aaron Rodgers today. He came into the game hurt. He had a, injured, broken wrist on his left hand. You saw he had the cast on it. He's not healthy. Gets strip sacked the first play of the second half, goes down, bloodies up his nose, and he comes back in the game. Like, that's a 41-year-old, a future Hall of Famer, competitive guy. Kudos to Aaron. But as I've said about Aaron Rodgers on this show for, the entire show's existence, is people like to say, well, Aaron just kind of gets a bad rep. Because of the whole thing with the vaccine like 4 years ago, that's why you guys don't like him. No. It's because of a long 20-year history of being abysmal with the media and also, by the way, throwing teammates under the bus, which is what he did yesterday. So we're going to play a few sound bites. Because, and I said this after they lost to the Bengals, and Aaron was like, hey, we're happy-go-lucky, we're good. And I said, I like to hear that from Aaron, but let's see when the Steelers run into adversity. Then the real Aaron comes out. Here's the first soundbite. I believe this is the one. Is this the one we have? Okay. This is where Aaron Rodgers is talking about, Mike Tomlin's job security and what have you. I believe this is the soundbite. If not, we'll play the other one. Here you go.
Quarterback, when you guys are down and you're in that down and distance, what did you see?
Okay, incorrect soundbite. Let's play this one. This is the one right here.
Do you see the flatness within the game and in practice as something that's not being done right from a coaching aspect or preparation aspect that's kind of framing you guys in the wrong way?
I know what you're trying to ask, and I'm not going to go down that road at all. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in Mike Tomlin. That's why I came here. And players need to take accountability, myself included, and I will continue to. I got to play better.
Yeah, he throws, kudos to Aaron, he kind of throws that little thing, hey, I got to take accountability too. I got to play better. And Aaron at points in the press conference, and throughout many of his press conferences, hey, I missed this throw, I got to do this. Okay. He will always throw that in there just to make sure that it's not like complete team ripping. You're like, Bryce, there was no team ripping. Oh, just you wait. Here's one where he gets testy with the media. Then we'll get to where he rips his teammates. This is where he gets testy with the media, right? Is a 3rd down and 9, which was an objectively terrible call. 3rd down and 9, you run the ball with Kenneth Gainwell in your own territory. Like, crap, you not trust Aaron? You not trust DK Metcalf? This is what Aaron Rodgers had to say about it and how his, per usual, the condescending tone that he delivers to the media. Here you go.
Quarterback, when you guys are down and you're in that down and distance, what did you see on that play to try to run the ball there instead of trying to attack downfield on the 3rd and 9 where you guys ran?
Come on, man. Do you want to start talking philosophical? Is that what you want? It's 3rd and 9. They brought pressure off that side. So we checked. We had a run called that we checked the blocking. They did on the run, and we had a chance. We had a chance. If that thing hits, nobody says damn thing. If we block on the front side, on the perimeter, literally everybody's blocked up. And we got to sustain those blocks on the outside. Kenny gets first down there, nobody says a damn thing.
Okay. So, of course, Owen Lighton one. We do not have the football IQ that Aaron Rodgers does. And as we all know, listen, and this is true, Aaron Rodgers is one of the smartest quarterbacks ever. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best ever at dying low, seeing what's going to happen at the line of scrimmage. When you combine Aaron's intelligence at the line with in his prime, his overall ability, which some, including the greatest ever Tom Brady, have said, most talented quarterback ever, That's why you have a 4-time MVP winner. But why do you have a 4-time MVP winner? No question, future first ballot Hall of Famer, top 5 all-time in touchdowns, top 2 or 3 all-time in terms of passer rating. Why does that guy have 1 Super Bowl and 1 Super Bowl appearance? This next answer will give you a pretty good insight why. Take a listen.
On here, it seemed like you and some of the receivers were off on some of the routes, the go ball to Roman, the one to Jonnu, where neither the seam he settled down. There were some scramble drills that seemed a little out of sync. How do you guys build that connection this part of the year, and how do you kind of go through that with your pass catchers, where it's saying, hey, maybe I saw this, you see this, iron those out over the last 5 minutes?
When there's film sessions, everybody shows up. And when I check to a route, you do the right route, you know? Like, John and I just weren't on the same page. I checked to his in-breaker, and he ran out-breaker. You know, John is a true professional, so I'm sure he's sick about that. But, you know, I threw a ball I thought was going to get hit by the wind, and it was 4 yards over Roman. So I got to make that throw. But, you know, we have our meetings every week. We have other opportunities outside of the facility, and look forward to seeing all the boys there.
And that, my friends, is why he is not a more than 1-time champion. That is why, despite the gifts, despite, again, easily a top 10 quarterback ever, no way on planet Earth he's a top 5 quarterback ever, is stuff like that. Hey, I mean, guys, hey, we got to show up to meetings. I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, hey, guys, I'm there. You know, Jonnu Smith, Roman Wilson, some of these guys, they got to show up to meetings. I mean, we've got opportunities outside of meetings, outside of practice to work these things out, get these right. There's one little problem, Aaron. Part of your job description as the quarterback is to do that, is to get guys bought in, is to get guys involved. Remember when Tua Tagovailoa about a month ago, I did a carving up the context on this situation. Remember when Tua about a month ago was calling out teammates saying, hey, guys are showing up late to players only meetings and what's going on? And one of the things that I and some others said is maybe part of the reason they're not showing up is they don't mess with you as the leader, Tua. Well, wouldn't the same logic apply to Aaron Rodgers? Maybe because you've thrown guys under the bus your entire career. Maybe because in a 2013 Week 1 game against the San Francisco 49ers, Greg Jennings is not getting a lot of targets. He's talking smack to one of the Niners quarterbacks, and one of the Niners quarterbacks like, hey, you know, I can't believe they're not giving you targets. Aaron walks by. Y'all can have him. Huh? What? Excuse me? When last year, Mike Williams runs a bad route. Hey, it happens. You think the Kansas City Chiefs haven't run a bad route from Mahomes? The Cowboys with Dak, Ravens with Lamar, Bills with Josh, Patriots with Brady. You think Julian Edelman's been perfect on, especially early in his career, on some of some of the route concepts and the connections with Tom Brady? Of course not. Tom may chastise Edelman or Gronk or anybody else on the sideline. But when Tom Brady goes to the mic, when Mahomes goes to the mic, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, when they go to the mic, hey, I got to be better. As a team, we win as a team, we lose as a team. That was a line that Tom Brady used all the time. Wins a team, lose a team. We're to get these things corrected. They handle that stuff behind closed doors. But Aaron has to air it out to make sure everybody knows, hey, guys, just wanted to let y'all know, like, I wasn't perfect, but, you know, Jonnu Smith ran the wrong route. And, guys, man, we're just not showing up to meetings. 2 things. A, keep that you-know-what in-house. B, if that's true, maybe part of that's you, buddy. Because Mike Williams didn't run the red line last year. Greg Jennings wasn't doing every single thing you want him to do. So you tell the Niners defensive back, hey, y'all trade for him. We don't want him. It's always somebody else's fault. When in reality, of course, Aaron Rodgers against bad teams this year has actually been a really effective quarterback. Look at these numbers, folks. Against non-playoff teams this year, Aaron, he's dicing them up. 11 touchdowns, 2 picks, 72% completion, 232 pass yards per game, 118 rating, 58 QBR, 4-1 record, ladies and gentlemen. But against the teams that are actually good, against playoff teams, Aaron's a bad quarterback. 8 touchdowns, 5 picks, 60% completion, 193 pass yards per game, 95 rating, 35 QBR, and he is 2-4 as the starting quarterback of the Steelers against playoff teams this season. This year has turned into exactly what I thought it was going to coming into the season. Outdated coach, way behind the times, overrated for years, no playoff wins for almost a decade, isn't good at his side of the ball, which I've always said is the bare minimum of being a good coach. What's your sensibility? What's your side of the ball? How good is that side of the ball on your team? Steelers are a terrible defense. And they don't come out motivated. And they come out flat. Motivation is supposed to be your thing. You're kind of in the Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni class of guys like, okay, I'm motivation guy. There's scheme guy. There's motivation guy. That's supposed to be the class Mike Tomlin's in. And he's bombed in both. Defense and motivation. So that, combined with a 41-year-old quarterback, I will say this on blue in the face, 4 years removed from being good, 5 years removed from a playoff win, 2 years removed from an Achilles, the worst leader in professional sports at the quarterback position. And by the way, a guy, I don't know if you knew this, folks, a friendly reminder that just some of the quarterbacks who have as many or more 300-yard pass games than Aaron Rodgers in the last 4 years include such names as Bailey Zappi, Carson Wentz, Davis Mills, Desmond Ridder, Jake Browning, Jarrett Stidham, Jimmy Garoppolo, Joe Flacco, Josh Johnson, Kenny Pickett, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan, Mike White, Nick Mullins, P.J. Walker, Ryan Tannehill, Sam Howell, Teddy Bridgewater, Tom Brady, who retired 3 years ago, Tyrod Taylor, Will Levis, Zach Wilson, Cooper Rush, Drew Lock, Josh Dobbs, Russell Wilson, Jacoby Brissett, and Aiden O'Connell. All of those guys have as many or more 300-yard passing games than you. So the fact that Father Time's undefeated, when the physical abilities, as it does for all of us, eventually diminish, then what are you? See, Tom Brady was not a great athlete at 41, 42, 43, 4, 5 years old. But the mind was always sharp. The leadership was always A+++. Always took accountability. The exact opposite of Aaron Rodgers. The exact opposite. Rodgers, the exact opposite of Mahomes. Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson, if he screws up, he is almost too hard on himself. It's like, hey, Lamar, listen, man, you got another play. Like, he never goes after teammates, at least not, at least in front of closed doors. He's never going at guys and saying, hey, you do this, you suck, da-da-da. Never does that. Dak Prescott, as chaotic a time as it always is in Dallas. Dak Prescott is the rock of that franchise. You know, when Dak goes to the media, hey, we're good. We don't have to worry about him saying anything crazy. He's not going to say anything about the coaches or teammates or be snippy with the media. Aaron Rodgers always has been his entire career. And here the Steelers sit at 6-6, and that's the last guy you want to follow the rest of the season as they try and survive this division and make the playoffs. And that's the last coach that they believe in, trust in. His message has gone stale. It's been 17 years since he's been in Pittsburgh, 9 years since a playoff win. Are we shocked? I mean, this is what it is. So, again, I sound worked up. I just, it is so demoralizing. It's one thing if you're a fan of a bad team, like, hey, well, hopefully we get a good draft pick, and you never know. If you're a fan of a great team, that's obviously where you want to be. Like, hey, we can win the Super Bowl. Hey, we bad loss, but we're going to get them next week. Or if you're a team that's been building and getting better, like Carolina, for example, right? Carolina's been bad, but hey, they're getting better. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they're getting better. There's hope. For Pittsburgh, same thing every year. Copy and paste. Nice start. Oh, look out for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year candidate. He can make any quarterback work. And then by about November, December, the Steelers, if they make the playoffs, the 5 seed is really praying to God that they get, that they get Pittsburgh. They'd much rather face Aaron Rodgers in the postseason than Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. Heck, definitely than Joe Burrow, than the Bengals. Wash, rinse, repeat. Get rid of that coach and definitely get rid of that quarterback whose leadership has always been atrocious his entire career. Patrick Brown in the comments. I need to take a drink of water. And Patrick's been saying this for years. And he's right. Mike Tomlin is Doc Rivers. I mean, yeah, both have a title as recently as 2008. So it's been a minute. All right. Was it 2000? Yeah, 2008, the Celtics won. And then the Steelers won in 2008. And then, obviously 2008 season early in 2009. And went to another championship a few years later, kind of live off that reputation. did it with the roster that they didn't really create and are living off of that. At least, Doc Rivers will win the occasional playoff series. Tomlin can't even do that. A quarterback Tomlin, this is from Patrick, a quarterback Tomlin wanted, and now it was bound to happen. Blame everybody else but himself. If GP3, George Pickens, had still been there, the crash out would have happened early in the season. Listen, and again, I know a lot of Steelers fans and Cowboys fans have been, Cowboys fans are kind of making fun of Steelers fans, and Steelers fans are like, why did we trade Pickens? Again, and I've said this over and over, Pickens is on his best behavior for two reasons. A, he's in a contract year. B, Dak Prescott's his quarterback, and Dak gets the best out of everybody in terms of production and in terms of, just being on your P's and Q's, being on your best behavior, because Dak's an elite leader, which Aaron has never been for a day in his life. So, yeah, it'd have been, oh, my gosh. If Pickens had been in Pittsburgh, it'd have been a disaster. Oh, my gosh. Him and Aaron be, really going out in the sidelines. So, I said after the Bengals loss, I said, I'm out in the season. Season's over. I said it then. I'm done. So, it's 6-6. Even though they're tied for first in the division. Baltimore's going to win the division, or it's maybe Cincinnati does. As I said on Friday's show, Bengals have a way easier schedule than the Steelers and the Ravens. So, listen, I've spent almost a half hour, almost lost my voice, talking about Pittsburgh, but God, pisses me off. It really, really, truly, it's infuriating to see an ownership group, and this we got to give some heat to the Rooney family too, for the fact that this has become the standard. 9-8, 10-7, may make the playoffs, may not. Get the doors blown off you in the postseason. Hey, Tomlin's a great coach. No losing a season. If you so much as dare criticize him, you don't know football. Okay. It's worked out real well, hasn't it? And as for Aaron Rodgers, Aaron's going to have a bounce back year. Really? I feel like we've been saying that for a few years now, and he just gets worse and worse. But maybe I'm crazy. All right, let's move on to the Chicago Bears. Speaking of, organizations that used to be defense wins championships and then, shifted their focus to offense through trading all those, trading all those picks to Carolina. They end up getting the first pick and getting Caleb Williams. And then a year after that, they hire Ben Johnson, which has been, along with Mike Vrabel, obviously. I heard someone say they should share Coach of the Year. Hey, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I've been a Shanahan guy for Coach of the Year. I still think Shanahan would get my vote. But hey, if Vrabel and Ben Johnson both get it, got no problems. They've both been awesome. But the Bears win in dominant fashion against the Philadelphia Eagles, 24-15, and it does not indicate, the score does not indicate how lopsided that game was, we'll get to the Eagles side of it, but let's talk Chicago. We talk about, so-and-so institutes of culture, the Institute of Culture. I think Ben Johnson, I think I said on social media, is this generation's version of Sean McVay. Sean McVay is great with the X's and O's, understands game plans, is able to formulate them, create them, call plays, all of that. But the Rams will run through a wall for that guy. He is, leadership, intangibles, the whole thing. He brings all of those things to the table. That's Ben Johnson. We know Ben Johnson could call plays. Go back to his time with the Detroit Lions, their OC. And we know what he's doing, obviously, right now in Chicago. But you see after the game, we'll play the soundbite after the game. The locker room is electric after the Bears won. And by the way, thanks to the Rams lost to Carolina, now the Bears are the one seed in the NFC right now. So listen, I could say, I could use this as an opportunity to kind of pat myself on the back and say, I said before the year that around Halloween into November, the team would start to figure it out. And what do you know? The Bears have won 9 of their last 10 games. I could, I guess I sort of just did pat myself on the back. But regardless, what I want to do is say this. They can go to the Super Bowl. They can go to the Super Bowl. Will they be my pick? Probably not. But they can, if they are playing in a division this difficult, with Green Bay, who, by the way, they still play the Packers twice. That they play them next week, by the way, in the big game on Fox. Cannot wait to watch that matchup. And they're taking on the Detroit Lions, who I think they'll play in the last game of the season. They play in a brutal division. One of the toughest schedules in all of football. Short week, you go to Philadelphia, and a game of Eagles, hey, we're like, if you're Philadelphia, we blow the lead to Dallas. Let's get a W. Let's stay within reach of the number 1 seed. And you go to Lincoln Financial Field and bully the Eagles. You push them around. You run for over 200 yards. Caleb Williams wasn't accurate, which has been a little bit of an issue. Doesn't have to be. Because you absolutely run the football over this team. You're the best team in the NFL, I believe, and make sure I get my stats correct. But I believe the Bears are I think, number 2 behind the Buffalo Bills this season in terms of rush yards per game, 153.8. Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift, even Caleb can use his legs a little bit. I know the defense isn't great, but we thought Jalen Johnson's injury would be a death sentence to this team. And they've had moments against Cincinnati, against Detroit, where like, oh boy, defense had some rough stretches at points of the season, but they're good situationally, by and large. And also, great defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen. He's kind of shored up that unit. They've gotten better over the course of the season, despite some of the limited bodies that they have out there. And as for Chicago's offense, again, it is an offensive league. It's a quarterback's league. They've invested in Caleb Williams. They invested in the offensive line, spent money in free agency, went out and got, Drew Dolman and Joe Tooney. They invested in the O-line. They went out and got Darnell Wright, from my guy from Tennessee, a couple of years ago in the draft. They hit on Kyle Monangai, late round pick. They have Rome Odunze. They've got Colson Loveland and all these guys, DJ Moore. They invested in the offensive side of football. Not that they neglected the defense, but they know it's secondary when it comes to wanting to win a Super Bowl. Is in 2025, you can't have a bad defense. You can't be out here fielding the Bengals for crying out loud, but you gotta be able to get stops. It's what you do on the offensive side of the football. Can you milk clock? Can you sustain long drives? It felt like the time of possession was, you barely remember when Philadelphia had the ball. There was the fumble tush push, those things of that nature, but Philly wasn't moving it. Philly barely had it because it was just run the football, punch you in the mouth, Kyle Monangai all day long. And you saw it for the game. Ben Johnson in the locker room with the Chicago Bears. It was pretty electric. Matter of fact, it was extremely electric.
Hell yeah! Man, I'm so proud of you guys. We took a short week. You took no shortcuts. We talked about the team that made more mistakes was going to lose that game. You guys didn't do it. You played your best ball for 60 minutes. Well done. Well done. Well done. I know you guys are hungry for more, right? It's it. Let me tell you something. The city of Chicago is hungry too.
You tell me that guy hasn't changed the culture completely in Chicago. Hasn't changed the outlook of Bears fans, certainly in the city, but all over America, is that the X's and O's are great, and Ben Johnson is a wizard with that. We remember some of those hook and ladder plays in Detroit. Remember the play, I think it was actually against the Bears, where Jared Goff fakes a stumble and then throws a touchdown. That's Ben Johnson's capable of those things. And Caleb Williams is a much better player now than he was a year ago. With Caleb, once this kid gets the accuracy down, dear Lord, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. He just is. The arm is insane. He's got to get the accuracy down. When he gets it down, the athleticism's off the charts, can kill you with his legs. So when you work out a play action, unlike with Jared Goff, and Jared Goff's a good quarterback, but Jared can't move like this. But this is what I said before the year. Caleb and Ben have never worked with a coach/quarterback like the other. It was going to take time. It was going to be a little choppy off the bat. But once they did, and they still got a ways to go, Caleb's still got to get more accurate. Ben Johnson's never coached a playoff game yet. We're in the early stages of this. But they've invested best in the O-line. Weapons are excellent. Running game is amazing. They've hit on this kid, Kyle Monangai. Ben Johnson, in many ways, again, he is this generation's Sean McVay. Culture builder and great X's and O's. He's like the perfect head coach. Offensive coach, great with X's and O's. And he has his guys playing, run through a wall for him. You could tell he's from a Dan Campbell coaching tree. So just an unbelievable win for the Bears. And again, they've been winning these close games and surviving against the Giants and the Bengals and the Vikings and all these close games. And people have been like, yeah, they're a great story. They might make the playoffs, but can we take them seriously? We're going to talk about Philly's struggles in a second, but that's saying something, man. Short week, going on the road to Philly, 7-point dog, and just pushing that team around. They did. Philly's got a great D-line. We know the Bears have a great O-line. Just dominated the line of scrimmage for 60 minutes. You feel like that game was over mid-second quarter. And again, some of that's an indictment on Philly, but some of that is they're just winning the individuals one-on-one matchups. Football at its finest. Moving, certainly line play. Moving another grown man against his will. That's what the Bears did on Friday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, Ben Johnson for years got this, reputation, like offensive whiz, but maybe a little finesse. But Far from it. They pushed Philly all over the field on Sunday, or on Friday, rather. For Philadelphia, what's the Whoopi Goldberg line from Ghost? You in danger, girl? Was that the line? That's what I'd say about the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, this is a team I predicted before the season. I said, I think we're going to get a Super Bowl rematch. Kansas City, Philly, let's do it one more time. Round 3. Rubber match. Not looking so great in the AFC side. Talking about the Chiefs on Friday. Again, not ruling them out for dead, but they got to win out, and that's going to be hard to do. And for Philadelphia, they should make the playoffs, but could they miss it? Here's why I say that. Everything that made this Eagles team great last year. Started 2-2, only lost one game the rest of the year, and in that game, Jalen Hurts got hurt in the first quarter, so in games that Jalen started and finished, they won every single game the rest of the year, and Jalen was great in the Super Bowl, and Saquon was the runaway offensive player of the year. Everything that made this team great a year ago, save for good play in the defense. The defense got pushed around, but I trust Vic Fangio. They'll be fine. That's all gone. Dominant play up front. Again, some of this feels like the injury to Cam Jurgens, who's clearly not healthy out there. Cam Jurgens deal with injuries, and they've obviously missed the kid. Oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy was with them last year, moved on. I'm blanking on his name. Shoot, the offensive lineman that played for them a year ago. He's totally blanking on it, but left them last year, or after this past year. Lane Johnson's been dealing with injuries. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries up front, not being able to win the line of scrimmage, and Saquon Barkley, as a result, has been a shell of himself. This year, Saquon Barkley, 18th in rush yards per game, 39th in yards per carry, tied for 19th in 10-yard runs, 27th in 20-yard runs, and he is 28th in rushing touchdowns. Thank you, Patrick Mekhi Becton. That's who I was referring to. Mekhi Becton, that's the guy who was excellent for them last year, was kind of a steal by Howie Roseman. He's not with them anymore, and it shows. Cam Jurgens has been hurt. Lane Johnson has been hurt. This, to me, the little 2-game mini skid. They're now 8-4. All of a sudden, the Dallas Cowboys are a game and a half back of them. If Philadelphia won on Friday, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're going to run away with the NFC East. That's what I think all of us felt. Once Jaden Daniels went down, the Giants became the Giants again, and Dallas got off to a rough start, and their defense was terrible. It's like, okay, Philly's going to win this division almost by default. I am certainly not saying, okay, I'm out in Philly winning the East, but based on their schedule the rest of the way, listen, next Monday night is going to tell us a lot about this football team because they go on the road, but to the Chargers, who we know have literally no home field advantage to speak of. There will be more Philadelphia Eagles fans than Chargers fans in SoFi Stadium. Both their tackles are out. Their offensive line is abysmal. And now Justin Herbert's hurt. He had surgery today, I think. You got to win that. If Philadelphia loses this game, and again, this is all going to hinge on whether Dallas wins Thursday against Detroit. But if both of those things happen, if Dallas wins, Philly loses, I think I'll pick Dallas to beat Philly for the division. The Eagles still going to play Washington twice. And hey, Commanders put up one heck of a fight yesterday against the Broncos. Divisional familiarity. They could split with them. And they still play the Buffalo Bills later this year. So this is a situation where Dallas, after the Detroit game, the schedule's not bad. You got the Chargers at home. Dallas should win that game. Again, the Chargers are beat up. Vikings at home, that should be a W. And then you finish with Washington. The Giants, those should both be blowout Ws. And if that happens, have you seen the wild card mix? Because not sure there'll be room for Philadelphia. San Francisco's winning. Again, Niners have a sneaky, kind of difficult schedule the last month of the year. Seattle does almost nothing on offense. Doesn't matter because their defense was amazing, albeit against a backup quarterback yesterday from Minnesota, a guy who's J.J. McCarthy's backup. Seattle's going to be in the postseason. The Rams are going to be in the postseason. Chicago, Green Bay, they're going to be in the postseason. Like, it feels like Thursday's an elimination game. Whoever loses between Dallas and Detroit, their season's over. But if Dallas wins Thursday, and if Philadelphia loses that game, I think they should win. Is there a line for that game? I want to see if there's a line for that game. If I had to guess for check, I'd say Philly minus 2.5. Okay, it's Philly minus 3. So it's Philadelphia minus 3 on the road right now. If they don't win that game, folks, they are, because so much of this, again, injuries up front on the offensive line. Mekhi Becton gone. Lane Johnson's injured. Cam Jurgens has been injured. Jalen Hurts, listen, I've defended him this year. I think he's been great in spots. He's been bad the last few games, folks. The inaccuracy is an issue. He's not seeing the field very well. Saquon all year has been a no-show. Like, the defense is going to save them in spots against Detroit and against Green Bay. Get off to a hot start in Dallas, go cold the rest of the way. And a lot of this also falls on Nick Sirianni. Is that if you're a Nick Sirianni, if your calling card is motivation, culture, having guys ready to go, because we know it's not play calling, right? You call plays your first half of your first season in Philadelphia. That didn't work at all. You handed it to Shane Steichen, and Jalen Hurts almost wins MVP the next year. And then Brian Johnson, that bombs. Then he hired Kellen Moore, who, as I always say, had the crazy idea, hey, let's just give the ball to Saquon Barkley with our amazing offensive line a million times. It got Kellen Moore a head coaching job. Regardless, Kellen Moore wasn't exactly a wizard. And now this year, Kevin Patullo has been a disaster. I don't know how Philadelphia doesn't move on from him at this point. So this falls on Sirianni. What did I say about Tomlin earlier? If you're whatever your side of the ball is, what's your sensibility? How are they playing? How productive are they? Tomlin's defense is terrible in Pittsburgh. Sirianni's an offensive guy, supposedly. Eagles' offense has been their Achilles heel. It has been. So I'm not going to sell all my stock in Philadelphia yet. But that Monday night game next week is going to reveal a lot about this football team. If they can't beat the Chargers without their tackles, with Herbert not at 100%, it wants a virtual, at worst, neutral site game at SoFi against LA Chargers. If they lose that game and Dallas wins on Thursday, we're looking at a world in which the Philadelphia Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs both miss the playoffs. We are. Because I think Dallas could, at that point, could run them down for the East. So that was credit to the Bears, major credit to the Bears. That was a culture win for Ben Johnson. They pushed Philadelphia around all over the field for 3.5 hours on Black Friday. Had Philadelphia Eagles fans, they were, I'm sure they were getting their buy one, get one, 40% off on jerseys. They were selling those jerseys after the game at the Eagles team shop. They were done. That was a bit concerning, to say the very least, if you're an Eagles fan. All right, some comments. Patrick, Ben Johnson, a player's coach. Hey, Steelers, that's what you need. Wait, the standard is the standard. Oh, don't remind me, Patrick. Philly has the highest paid offense, Steelers highest paid defense. If these two play tomorrow, it'd end in a tie. It very well might, Patrick. And, God, that would be an ugly game. I think we'd be talking about, what, 16-16 is the final score, something like that. Like just an ugly, poorly played, turnovers type of game. Saquon Barkley, by the way, talked about, whoops, didn't mean to hit the mic there. Saquon Barkley talked about the Eagles' struggles.
After 2 losses in a row, you got to realize everything we want is still in front of us. And the way we do that is by staying together. We got to address some things. We got to fix some things, obviously. Out there in the field, we're not playing up to our standard, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But the way we fix that is by coming together, blocking out the noise, and try to go out there and get a win.
Like I said, that game against the Chargers on Monday is a must-win. Like, however you got to get it. Let's just go into LA, get a W, and then we'll move on from there. But again, man, if Dallas wins Thursday, Philly loses Monday, I would go so far in the show to pick the Cowboys to win the NFC East. Maybe a half game back with an easier schedule. So, God, that's a huge game for Philadelphia. Well, I would argue one of the biggest games of this NFL season, because I've been of the mindset in the AFC, among the wildcard teams, Chargers, Bills, and Jaguars, or I guess right now it's the Colts. We'll talk about those Jaguars later in our Week 13 recap. But of those teams, I think the Chargers, in my view, were the team most likely to miss if Kansas City wins out. Because I'm not, and by the way, or if Houston wins out. Either team, I think, is better than the Chargers today because of the injuries up front, and Herbert's now not healthy. So this is a huge game for both teams and could shape the playoff picture in both conferences. When we come back, the drama in Oxford, Mississippi and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Lane Kiffin. Listen, as a Vols fan, Ole Miss fans, know how you feel. He did it to us too. Lane Kiffin goes on to be the head coach of the LSU Tigers. We'll talk about that and more. Denver Broncos and a response to all the Vanderbilt fans who are coming after me. You know what? I will respond in about a half hour or so. Stay tuned. We got, again, loaded show on Carving Up Live after this 1 minute break. Don't go anywhere. Here we are. Again, dealing with some technical difficulties. I hope you guys can hear and or see me. And if not, then that would be a bummer. Man, this thing is just straight up not working. Hang on, folks. See, am on now? Okay, here we go. I think we maybe got something. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties. It looks fine on my end, and it's still not great on y'all's. I'm looking at the monitor right now, and it's like non-existent. Oh, here we go. Okay, I see myself. It looks like it's working. So again, some technical difficulties. I apologize for that, folks. The Wi-Fi is just totally gone AWOL. We're going to try and get this connected one more time, and if not, okay, I think looks like it's working. Again, technology, folks, it happens sometimes. So here we go. Let's see if this works. We got it? Here we go. We're back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, my gosh. That was almost a disaster. But are we back? Here we go. Okay. So it looks like the show is working just fine now. Apologies for the technical issues. I'm sure we lost a lot of viewers right there, but you know what? It happens. Apologies for that on my end. But my monitor looks fine. The connection looks fine. So again, technology happens sometimes, folks, but hope you guys will stick around for the rest of the show. So let's move on to Lane Kiffin. Because, boy, it's just bizarre story in college football over the last few days. So Lane Kiffin is hired as the head coach of LSU, and he leaves Ole Miss. It's a whole, scandal and controversy, and it goes to some of Lane's previous history. Before we do that, let's go and play the Lane Kiffin soundbite. If we have that on the show, Lane Kiffin talking to Marty Smith, who did the Lord's work covering this in Oxford, Mississippi. Lane Kiffin talking about his departure from the Ole Miss Rebels.
You know that this was a very challenging, difficult day. We went through a lot last night with Keith Carter, trying to figure out a way, to make this playoff, run work and be able to coach the team. And at the end of the day, that's his decision. And I totally respect that. I understand that decision. And, so I just totally wish the team the best of luck, wish that I was coaching, but understand that it was a very challenging position for him and the chancellor to be in, and totally respect that. So, just really hope they play really well and go win the national championship.
So what he's referring to is the fact that Ole Miss, understandably, is not going to allow him to coach the college football playoff, which Ole Miss is going to make, right? They're 11-1. They're going to get in. They've had a fantastic season, one of the best in the history of their football program. And Lane Kiffin's leaving to go to LSU, and there's a lot of controversy around it. So let me start with the Lane side of this. So Lane, to say the very least, was highly successful at Ole Miss. We'll show you the record. It's pretty fantastic, right? He won 74% of his games, won 60% of his games against the SEC. He winning record against top 25 teams, 4 10-win seasons, 2 top 10 finishes, including this year. And since he joined Ole Miss as their head coach in 2020, they are 8th in the country in points per game. 36 PPG points per game has Lane Kiffin put up at Ole Miss. That is 8th best in college football in that span. On Lane's side of this, do I blame him for going to LSU? I can't say I do blame him. When you're talking about NIL resources, when you talk about the fact that, again, with respect to Ole Miss, they are, by and large, kind of an also-ran in the SEC. They are just another program. They are a team they play every year in the Egg Bowl. They are Mississippi State. As far as football is concerned, they are Kentucky. I mean, we're not talking about something, by and large, not a blue blood program, Missouri. There's a different level. There's LSU, there's Alabama, there's Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma. Like, these are the blue blood programs of the SEC. And they want to they want you to coach their team. It's hard to turn that down. But for those, again, this is so balanced and so layered. I'll get to the NCAA part of it. It's not unfair to criticize how Lane went about this to a certain degree, because his history in this has to matter. When Lane Kiffin becomes the head coach of my Tennessee Volunteers in 2009, and there's some moments, they almost beat Alabama, and okay, maybe there's a bright future, and bam, middle of the night, he goes to USC. It's like, oh, well, where'd that happen? It's Lane Kiffin being Lane Kiffin. few years later, he fired on the tarmac at USC. He's left behind as they fly home. Like, okay, I guess Lane's not our coach anymore. Then he gets fired by Nick Saban right before the national championship game in 2016 because he was looking ahead to being the head coach at Florida Atlantic University. Saban fires him right before a national championship game. And now you have this. Is that Lane, and to his credit, because he was a younger coach, more inexperienced, a little less mature than he is now. Again, to his credit, he's done a lot of work on himself personally. I found Lane to be kind of a likable figure over the last few years. I even think I'm in the minority of Vols fans that feels this way, but I even think the way that he handled some of the stuff he was dealing with his first game back at Tennessee in 2021, I thought he handled that great. I thought he was appreciative of the fans. He took a golf ball home. I thought he handled it fine. So I've grown to kind of like Lane Kiffin over time. But I understand why folks would say, leaves Tennessee in the middle of the night. Fire him the tarmac at USC. He gets fired by Bama right before a national championship game. And now he leaves Ole Miss right before they're about to make a playoff. So I get that part of it. But to me, the outrage. And similar, and I talked about this with Nico Iamaleava when he transferred last second from Tennessee back in April. The outrage goes to the people in charge. The outrage goes to the NCAA. And Rick Pitino, college basketball coach at St. John's, he summed it up, I think, perfectly in this tweet. Go and pull this up from Rick Pitino. I'm not knocking football, but there's something wrong with their calendar. I'm at St. John's University, and we are potentially a 1 seed and can win the national championship this year, and I leave in March? What's going on here? I think he's 100% right. It's a calendar issue. The fact that there's this many recruiting windows and transfer portal windows and opportunities for, programs to hire the coach right off the bat the second the season ends, before the postseason even begins. We don't have this in the NFL. We've seen situations. I remember when Kyle Shanahan got the job in San Francisco when he was the Falcons OC. I remember when Dan Quinn also got when he got the Falcons job, 10 years ago to be their head coach, he was still a defensive coordinator in Seattle coaching in a Super Bowl. Like, we've seen coordinators get head coaching jobs while they're still being employed by the team, but eventually they got to finish the season first. Yes, are they behind the 8 ball to a degree with scouting and with building their staff and all those things? Yeah, but that's part of the territory. That's part of the rules in the NFL. College football, non-existent. By and large, kind of transfer whenever you want to a certain degree. There's more. There's early season, as soon as the season's over, you can transfer. You move programs, which Lane Kiffin did, which Brian Kelly has, which Lincoln Riley has. It's a broken system, and people who get on the Lane Kiffins of the world, and certainly those who get on athletes who transfer the second the season's over, ultimately this is a wild, wild west sport in the sense of it really is just every man for himself. It really is every man looking out for his best interest. Where there are no regulations, where there are no guardrails. Again, because y'all know, as I've said this for 6 years in the show, I'm as pro-NIL as it gets. I've been saying that college athletes should get paid well before they finally did end up getting paid, but before the Supreme Court finally agreed that they should and ruled it unconstitutional for them not to be paid. 100% in favor of that. But there's got to be some guardrails with NIL, and there certainly needs to be guardrails with the transfer portal. It's pretty simple. Once the season's over, once the national championship has concluded, then you're able to start recruiting. Then you're able to hire a head coach or transfer or land some of the guys that you want to land for your program. And some blame does go on Lane in the sense of, man, it's one thing for you to lead, man, but now you're purging our coaching staff. Now you're bringing some of your coaches from Ole Miss to LSU. Like, that's kind of screwed up. Now you're leaving Ole Miss, left for dead before they're in the playoff. Now they got no chance to win. So I totally get why Ole Miss fans are pissed about this. Get why LSU fans are jumping for joy. They should. Lane's a great coach. His history would tell you that. But it's a broken system in the NCAA. Is that when it's a wild, wild west and coaches are doing as they please, players are doing the same thing, transferring whenever they want, moving teams whenever they want, coaching different teams whenever they want. There's no regulation there. There's a free agency period in pro sports. There's a trade deadline. There's an opportunity to hire coaches, but they got to finish their season first. Whereas that's not the case in college football. And I remember, and I said this on Saturday morning tailgate, with my guys Tim Barnard and Arthur Hurst, which is on the Grid Network every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, is that Lane's in a lose-lose spot here. It's either coach LSU and leave your Ole Miss team, left for dead before the playoff, or coach Ole Miss, then go to LSU, but then you are totally behind the 8 ball on transfer portal and in recruiting. That's a broken system. Lane should not have to make the decision based on those circumstances. It should be, hey, I can take the LSU job. I want to take the LSU job. It's respect to Ole Miss, but it is a better opportunity than Ole Miss. More resources. But after the season, I can coach this year for Ole Miss, coach college football playoff, hopefully we go on to win a national championship, then I leave. But instead, Lane purges the coaching staff. Now Ole Miss left for dead before the playoff, and now it's just an ugly situation. And so it's unless you're an LSU fan, it's kind of a bummer all the way around. It obviously sucks for Ole Miss fans. It sucks for college football, and it's a bad look for the sport. There needs to be more guardrails. It's kind of like what I said during the NBA gambling controversy, which I'm sure, as time goes on, we're going to get more information on that. But, the solution to everything, it can never be just one way or the other. It's not to outright ban something, NIL, transfer portal, things of that nature. Not an outright ban, but also not free-for-all, hey, do what you wish. You can't clamp down the law so much that no one can do anything at all, but there also can't be no law. There's got to be somewhere in between. There has to be regulations. There has to be a central figure, a commissioner, so to speak, of college football who oversees everything. Not an NCAA president who's just as concerned with, rowing as he is with college football. It doesn't work. Nothing against rowers, by the way, but we know what the moneymaker is in college sports. So here we go. Let's transition, though, while we're in college football. I think it's fair. Because it's safe to say, man, Vanderbilt fans have just been ruthless in how they've, come after me the last few days after the Commodores went to Neyland Stadium and just straight up took it to my Vols in the second half of that game. Tennessee goes up 21-14 in the second quarter, and the rest of the way, Vanderbilt goes on a 31-3 run the rest of the way to win the football game. And Diego Pavia, who talked a lot of smack in the offseason about how we're going to run Tennessee, and Vanderbilt's going to be the preeminent college football program in the state of Tennessee, not the Vols. To his credit, he backed it up. At least backed it up in his performance. And was talking smack in the locker room. Hey, that's sports. He's got the right to do that. I also have the right to respond to Vanderbilt fans. First of all, you guys are more within your right to come after me on my YouTube video. Again, please do. First of all, it's great for engagement on my show. I'd listen. The more engagement, the better. Love having that stuff on the show. Love the back and forth. That's what's fun about this. And fair is fair. I called y'all out. I talked crap about y'all's program. Y'all came into Tennessee, mocked my Vols. Therefore, you guys get to talk a lot of smack. Kudos. That's how the game works. However, let's not act like Saturday was some changing of the guard. Let's not act like Diego Pavia is about to have the same impact at Vanderbilt that Peyton Manning did at Tennessee, which, by the way, they were a great program even before Peyton Manning got there. They were amazing when he was there and had great years post-Peyton Manning, as all great programs do. Diego Pavia is probably gone for the Vanderbilt Commodores after this season. Then what? Clark Lee's a great coach. You don't think he's going to leave you at some point? You don't think if a good opportunity comes down the road, you can say, well, Florida and LSU. Florida and LSU are great jobs in theory, but have you seen the dysfunction in the Florida Gators athletic department? LSU's not that much better. Lane Kiffin took that job. Kudos to Lane Kiffin. Clark Lee's like, I think I'll prefer the stability of Vanderbilt. Take a better job down the road. Clark Lee ain't going to be there forever. He will eventually take a better job. You will have an opportunity in future years to prove, yes, the Vanderbilt Commodores are the preeminent college football program in the state of Tennessee. But of course, it does not negate the fact that when it comes down to it, you guys just haven't had a whole heck of a lot of success by and large. You've had, I believe the number is 28 2-win or less seasons. That's kind of what you've been. Just because the Clippers made a Western Conference Finals in 2021, the same year that the Lakers went out in the first round, did not make it an LA Clippers city. The Lakers are, as much as I hate to say this, Warriors fan, the team of California. And they're darn sure the team of Los Angeles. Couple of down years here and there. Remember when Lob City happened? Oh, Lob City, man, they're winning playoff series. The Lakers stink, and they're bombing draft picks, and the front office is terrible, and it's still Lakers town. And Lakers attendance is still way more up than Clippers attendance at the old Staples Center. It will always be a Lakers city until proven otherwise. Tennessee will always be a Vol state until proven otherwise. Vanderbilt, never forget, you tend to get outnumbered in your own stadium by Vols fans. You are probably the only program in college football, certainly, maybe not in college football, it's certainly in the SEC. There are more fans of your biggest rival in your city than fans of you. Now, maybe you're trying to change that. First 10-win season in the history of the program, kudos. Listen, again, you deserve to talk as much smack as you possibly can to the Vols program, to the Vols, athletic department, Vols fans like myself who talked a lot of crap about y'all season and certainly did on Friday. Have at it. Fair's fair. That's how rivalries work. Don't think this is the norm, though. This is the best year in the history of your program. This is a rebuilding year for Tennessee. This is why I'm getting mad at the people who are, it's funny. Vols fans were calling for Josh Heupel's job, and then there's rumors Josh Heupel might go to Penn State. Please come back, Josh Heupel. Funny how that works, huh? And Josh Heupel, by the way, did say, hey, I'm not taking the Penn State job. Thank God. We'd be dead in the water without that guy. Rebuilding year for Tennessee, and they're a field goal away from a win against Georgia to go to 9-3. That was a rebuilding year for Tennessee. This was the best year in the history of your program. So what is it? Was it The Rock that said, know your role and shut your mouth? You don't need to shut your mouth. Open it. Let Vol Nation, let all of Tennessee hear it for the next 365 days. You've earned that. But this does not make Vanderbilt the college football program in the state of Tennessee. Oh, what are we talking about here? Just the fact that this is your first 10-win season, that's all I need. That's all the evidence I need. Overall's program that's got 6 national championships, has been to the playoff a couple of years ago, and a few years ago was the number 1 team in the country. That's just the last 5 years. There's no SEC championship appearances in that span. So, kudos to you. But this ain't the norm. And Tennessee will be back in 2026. Make no mistake about it. As for Diego Pavia, you balled out. Keep an eye on your family, man. They are just, oh my gosh, just get in trouble left and right. Goodness gracious. All right, let's move on to the Denver Broncos. I'm fired up on the show. I'm mad that I'm out of Florida. I'm mad that the show has experienced technical difficulties twice. I'm pissed off, man. Come on. But let's talk Denver Broncos before we get to our Week 13 NFL recap. So they beat him. What ended up being an amazing, you look at the schedule and you're like, oh, the Thanksgiving games are so good. The Black Friday games, great. And some of these, you got Steelers and Bills, and some of these, the early window games are really good. And then you're like, Broncos and Commanders. Before the season, it looked like a pretty good game. It's Bo Nix versus Jaden Daniels, same draft class. Both teams have big expectations. Broncos have had a great year. Commanders have lost, I think, is the 7 straight games, I think, for Washington. So their season's been lost. So there's kind of this won't be that good of a game. Ends up being an amazing game. Like the fourth quarter, you got penalties, extending drives. You got Marcus Mariota. By the way, not Mariota. The way I love Collinsworth, but gosh, he just kept emphasizing the T. It was weird. Shout out to Marcus Mariota, though. He had a great game yesterday against one of, if not, I shouldn't say the best, the second best defense in football. Houston's defense has the best. But a couple of touchdown passes, really just gutted it out. 55 yards rushing, like kind of a vintage Marcus Mariota performance. But the Broncos win in overtime. Washington tries to go for 2, and Nick Benito, who's probably going to finish second to Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year, makes the play because it's Collinsworth pointed out in the broadcast. Krosky Merritt, I think it was Krosky Merritt, wide open in the end zone for what would have been the game-winning 2-point conversion. Benito knocked it down for the line of scrimmage, and that was ball game. I've said it for about a month now. Credit to Denver. They're going to win the AFC West. They might be the 1 seed. I still think it's going to be New England, but Denver very well. As they say here today, the Broncos are the 1 seed. That team ain't winning the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, that team ain't even going to the Super Bowl. They might win a playoff game because we know the home field advantage in Denver is legit because the altitude, because the fans are great there. That team ain't winning the Super Bowl. You cannot survive by the skin of your teeth some either bad teams or actually, yeah, in some cases, bad teams. I mean, you beat the Jets by 2. You need the comeback of comebacks to beat the Giants at home. You beat the Raiders by 3. You beat the Commanders by 1 in overtime. Like, I'm sorry. Bo Nix is inconsistent. The accuracy hit or miss. It was solid last night. It didn't play poorly per se, but very much a kind of hit or miss. Denver's offense, it felt like Sean Payton kind of carried them as it relates to play calling. RJ Harvey was solid. But generally speaking, man, as wide open as the AFC is, you got New England, you got the 2 AFC South teams potentially, you got Buffalo, obviously, whoever the heck comes out of the AFC North. Is that a team and is that a quarterback you trust to win back-to-back playoff games, or maybe 3 straight if they're less than the 1 seed, to get to a Super Bowl? That defense is a Super Bowl defense. They had a rough night last night, some penalties that extended some Washington drives. They're still a great defense. The pass rush is amazing. But if they're surviving some of the worst, both New York teams, the Raiders, the Commanders without Jaden Daniels, I mean, like, what are we talking about here? You've got to have like a knockout ability. That was a little bit of a question of the Chicago Bears. Well, then they just go into Philadelphia, the defending champs' house, on a short week and punch the Eagles in the mouth for 60 minutes. Push them around. Denver's personnel has that ability. They have moments where they show that. I've said they have arguably the best offensive/defensive line combo in the league. But the quarterback's inconsistent. Penalties kind of, killed them last night, almost got them beat, if not for a great play by Nick Benito, who's a great player at the end. Just by default, because the Chiefs are struggling, because the Chargers are beat to hell, and because the Raiders are awful, they're going to win the AFC West. But beyond that, that ain't a Super Bowl team whatsoever. All right, we're going to take a break. Just a wild game last night, though. It was quite entertaining. When we come back, though, Week 13 NFL recap and predictions for Giants versus Patriots. Again, apologies for some of the technical difficulties, but we'll be back in just 1 minute here on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. I just want to say this. I just saw some shocking news in a subject that, again, maybe not a ton of you care that much about. And again, that's everyone's got their preferences. But as many of you know, I just came back from Florida, from Disney World. Had an amazing trip during Thanksgiving. Saw some great friends and ate some amazing Thanksgiving food. It was, again, probably my favorite Thanksgiving of all time. But again, this is for my Disney fans out here. So a lot of you out there know the Rock and Roller Coaster in Hollywood Studios is going to close in a couple of months to make way for the new Muppets roller coaster. The pre-show's gone. Like, it's just straight up gone. I was there Friday, and today it's gone. They replaced it. It looked like some records or something, like a G-Force Records thing. I don't know. Again, this is for my Disney fans out here, but that is... I don't even know how to react to that. You couldn't let that thing breathe for another 2 more months? Jeez, that's a bummer. And you did it in the middle of the night, too. Disney's been doing that as of late, man. They just out of nowhere, they'll get rid of something. They won't even give you a heads up. So, Not crazy about that at all. But hey, hopefully the Muppets rise good. All right. Before we get out of here, let's do a Week 13 recap of some of the games. Talked about a bunch of them. Obviously, the 3 Thanksgiving games. Talked about that on Friday, the Black Friday game. Niners beating the Browns 26-8. So, listen, of course, the story for any Cleveland game is going to be Shedeur Sanders, he was okay. I mean, he had the touchdown pass early on, gave the Browns an early lead. Or not an early lead, but gave him the lead in the first half. But by and large, the play calling was weird. It was oddly extremely conservative. Wasn't a lot of throws over the middle. Shedeur, I will say, did, and this is his fatal flaw, early in the game, he's holding on the ball too long, gets sacked out of field goal range when Cleveland could have gotten some points there. Like, that's his biggest issue that he has to work on. Accuracy is pretty good. Arm strength, better than I've probably given it credit for, but still not amazing. He holds the ball too long in the pocket. And that's something he's got to improve on. But as for the 49ers, I can't say enough about Kyle Shanahan. I can't. And I can't say enough about Robert Saleh. Kyle Shanahan and Saleh have gotten this team to 9-4. There's no Nick Bosa. There's no Fred Warner. By the way, Brandon Ayuk's probably gone, period, from the football team. Pearsall's been out at times. Kittle's been out. McCaffrey's been the bell cow. Offensive line isn't great. And they're 9-4. And they're finally getting a bye week, by the way. Is there any team in the league that needs a bye more than the 49ers? And then, by the way, guess who they get to play after the bye? Tennessee. So they'll mow over the Titans, and they finish with Colts, Bears, Seahawks, which is a pretty tough closing schedule. But, my gosh, that is and that was my upset of the week. And I was dead wrong on that one. I thought Myles Garrett and the defense would annihilate them. They did what they could, but turnovers, special teams mistakes kind of killed the Browns. But, gosh, Shanahan and Saleh have been just absolutely outstanding this year for the 49ers. Jaguars, how about the Jacksonville Jaguars, ladies and gentlemen? How about a team that I predicted before the season would win the AFC South? And who, ladies and gentlemen, the playoffs start today. Be a little too early because we're just now getting into December. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, folks, are in first place in the AFC South. They have overtaken, they've got a tiebreaker right now, overtaken the Colts for the AFC South. We're going to talk Colts in a second. But 25-3 over the Titans. Trevor Lawrence played very well. Has been playing really well the last few weeks. Jacksonville all of a sudden, kind of hot. Maybe they just might be in Bryce's best 10 on Wednesday. You'll have to stay tuned to find out. The Jags, with that defense, Josh Hines-Allen has been unbelievable. The O-line's been great. They run the football. Liam Cohen's done a great job. I'm just saying, if you're a wild card team in the AFC, Chargers, Colts, Buffalo, I'm not looking forward to playing Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has won a playoff game. My trust and my faith was wearing thin on this player, and then he started to get back into things. So if he stays healthy, I'm not saying they're Super Bowl contender, but watch out for the Jags. Also, watch out for the Texans. 20-16 over the Colts. I did pick, I was 2-1, and if I were a bet man, so I'll take it. This is one of my picks. I picked Houston plus 3.5 and a straight up W over the Colts. But this defense is monstrous. Derek Stingley Jr. is the best corner in football. I'm ready to say, respect to Pat Surtain, reigning DPOY. He's been able to deal with injuries. Derek Stingley is the best corner in football. You can't get anything on this guy. So Houston's got the best defense in football. They're on is this a 4-game winning streak for him? I think this 4-game winning streak for Houston. Yeah, the comeback on Jacksonville. Yeah, kind of survived Tennessee, beat Buffalo without C.J. Stroud in that Thursday night game, and then they are able to get a W on the road against the Colts. So they're still in play for the division. They're still within the race. They're only a game back of Jacksonville and of Indianapolis. All of a sudden, that's kind of now, we've always thought the AFC South is one of the more boring divisions. All of a sudden, it's kind of a fun 3-team race down the stretch of the season. I'm sticking with the Jags. I picked them before the season to win the division. The Houston, if they've won the last 2 years, I don't think they've ever won the division 3 years in a row in their brief history, so we'll see if they're able to do it. And as for Indianapolis, kudos to Daniel Jones for gutting it out, throwing a couple touchdowns on a bad leg. I think he's got like a fractured tibia. Or was it fibula? I think it was fibula. I forget which. Got an injured leg. Let's put it that way. And gutting it out. But man, this Colts offense looks really limited when Daniel Jones is not healthy. And when you're playing an elite defense, an elite pass rush like Houston, an elite pass rush like Atlanta, an elite pass rush in theory in Pittsburgh, doesn't look like the same quarterback. Heck, Kansas City at times got pressure on Daniel Jones. So, I'm not saying the Colts are going to miss the playoffs necessarily, but I don't think they're winning the AFC South. I'm sticking with Jacksonville. Dolphins beat the Saints, kind of survived there at the end, 21-17. Jets beating the Falcons 27-24. Again, I keep saying it every week. People got to pay attention. If you're a betting person, the Jets have been really good to people in Vegas this year, right? They've covered 4 straight weeks, No, 5. My gosh, 5 straight weeks as dogs. They were dogs to Cincinnati, won the game straight up. Made a crazy comeback. Dogs at home to the Dylan Gabriel Browns, which made no sense. They won that game. 13.5-point dogs at New England, covered. 13.5-point dogs at Baltimore, covered. And then they were 3.5-point dogs against the Falcons at home, covered, and won. Walk-off field goal, Nick Folk. So a good win for the Jets, although Jets fans, I don't know if they necessarily want the win because of they want Fernando Mendoza, understandably so, but good win for them. How about, ladies and gentlemen, the Carolina Panthers, and how about my guy, Bryce freaking Young? Can we show Bryce Young's stats? Beating the LA Rams, who have been at number 1 on Bryce's best 10 and are the Super Bowl favorite. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 75% completion, 206 passing yards, 147 passer rating, QBR 0 to 100 of 85. And you see there at the bottom, a perfect passer rating on third down did Bryce Young have in that game. That game was all about certainly third and fourth down conversions. Bryce Young had a couple of touchdowns in those spots. Carolina in their game against the 49ers last week, for whatever reason, did not establish a run game at all. Well, now with Rico Dowdle, who's been great this year, now you got Chuba Hubbard back healthy. Now you got a 2-headed monster at running back. You've got a solid offensive line. Now you can be able to play ball control. Bryce can work on a play action. 20 attempts is kind of where you want him. Tet McMillan has stepped up as of late. And then for the Rams, look, Stafford broke the streak for most consecutive touchdown passes without throwing a pick. I think Tom Brady had the streak in 2010. Stafford had thrown 28 touchdown passes, then ends up throwing a pick, and then a pick 6 for this team, then fumbles the ball late. Panthers run out the clock. So Stafford, let's see what Drake May does tonight. Stafford, to me, still has a slight advantage in the MVP discussion, but make no mistake, that hurt him yesterday. All of a sudden, Dak Prescott is gaining. Let's see what happens with the Cowboys down the stretch, but I still think the Rams are going to win the division. They'll be fine. It was a game they shouldn't have lost. They did. It happens. You're not going to be the 1972 Dolphins. Let's put it that way. Bucs beat the Cardinals 20-17. Baker was solid in this game. Bucky Irving being back helped the Buccaneers tremendously. Huge win to kind of stave off Carolina. That'll be a fun 2-team race in the NFC South. Kyle, you got to feel bad for Justin Jefferson. Seahawks beat the Vikings 26-0. Seattle's offense does literally nothing, and it doesn't matter because their defense was suffocating. Max Brosmer, who, if you watch the pregame open with Joe Davis and Greg Olsen, two of the best in the business, by the way. They're a great broadcasting duo. And they were saying, and Greg Olsen was kind of alluding to it, like, I don't know if the coaches in Minnesota are BSing us or something, but they're thinking, man, Max Brosmer, look out for this kid. Rookie out of Minnesota. And he was dreadful. He had 4 picks. The pick 6 is literally on memes right now. He a literal Will Levis pick where he's falling to his right, underhands it, ends up getting picked going the other way. Seattle's defense is suffocating. They're amazing. But God, I mean, Justin Jefferson, who I still maintains the best receiver in football. I'm sorry. What has he got to work with right now? Yesterday, 2 catches for 4 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns in the year. Like, how he thinks he's finally got his quarterback. Hey, Sam Darnold's in the MVP discussion. I'm putting up crazy numbers, and then we trade him. Not trade him, let him walk. And JJ's terrible, and Max Brosmer's even worse. And now we're probably going to have to find another quarterback. Gosh darn it, man. So Seattle stays in the race for the NFC West. They're not tied with the Rams, although the Rams have the tiebreaker as of right now because of that win a couple of weeks ago. A good one for Seattle. Chargers win over the Raiders 31-14, but Justin Herbert's hurt now. And he broken hand in his left hand. I think he had surgery today. We'll see if he's able to be available next week for Philly. If he's not, the Eagles should win easily. If he is available, I still think the Eagles win, but definitely a huge win for the Chargers. They're better than the Raiders by a long shot, but they're just on life support right now with that offensive line. Like, they really are. I still maintain I think they're going to be the team. Of the 3 wildcard teams right now that are in the AFC playoffs, I think it's going to be LA that misses. I think Buffalo's going to get in. I think whoever's second in the AFC South is going to be in, Colts or Jags. And then after that, I think I think the Chargers are going to go on a little bit of a losing streak here. They probably lose to Philadelphia. They play Kansas City. I think they lose that as well. And then their season kind of goes down the tracks. So that's around the Chargers. Before we get out of here, though, predictions for tonight's game featuring the New York Football Giants on the road against the New England Patriots. The Patriots at home are a 7-point favorite. So this feels like a little bit of a trap game for New England. At home, big favorites, Monday Night Football. Kind of played an ugly game against Cincinnati, but they still won. Whereas the Giants are coming in, Thibodeau's out. They're 2-10. They're on their interim coach. Jackson Dart, though, is back. I think the Giants actually kind of compete in this game early. I really do. The Patriots haven't played a lot of good quarterbacks. Jackson Dart certainly has showed potential. I got the Patriots winning, though, 27-17, but a little bit of a misleading final score. I could see this being like they're up 3 and then they get a late touchdown. Maybe Stephon Diggs gets open for a 20-yard score, and then that's all she wrote for this game. But this feels like a game that New England kind of looks ahead for because Patriots are going on their bye. Guys are looking forward to vacation. I'm picking the Patriots. But this has trap game written all over it. That's all I'll say. With that, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube, as well as on Twitch, Instagram, X, and on Facebook. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties early on. There was about a 5-minute delay in the show, and then after the first commercial break, there was issues with the Wi-Fi connection. But we're back. Appreciate all you guys for stopping by, for hanging in there. Plenty of clips will be out on social media, so please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. It helps the channel grow exponentially. Do that with my channel, Carving Up with Bryson Carver. Please do that with the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere that you get your favorite podcast. And also check out all of our social media platforms, Carving It Up Podcasts on Instagram and on TikTok, and then Carving It Up Pod on X. You can also find the show on Facebook and on Twitch. We are everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, so check out Carving It Up anywhere you get your podcasts and anywhere that you are on social media. Hope you have a great week, everybody. Please continue to stay safe out there. Stay warm. I'm still getting used to this Tennessee chili, and Tennessee's not even up north or something. It's not in Minnesota or Wisconsin or Michigan. They're really cold right now. It's getting chillier. Football's getting more intense. Great stuff. Championship Saturday, rather, in college football. You got Ohio State, Indiana. You got Bama, Georgia. Oh, the matchups are great. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday to talk about some of that stuff. Maybe have a guest on. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And for the love of God, fire Mike Tomlin. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.